Hello there! Welcome to this Wednesday night Freak Fest. No, it's gonna be a good time. Hi, I'm Herald. If you don't know me by now, well, I'm glad you're here. On twitch.tv/quitsong or listening at home to the podcast. Welcome. It is GameByte, the weekly show where we talk about all things video games, whether it's shoutcasters, content creators, game developers, or AAA devs and publishers. That's all we're here for. Again, I am Herald Silvestre, your host. And I'm not alone tonight. DZ's not here, but we do have the ever dependable, ever handsome, ever stunning Miko P. How you doing, Miko P? You looking good, buddy. Fresh shave.
Probably the goose shirt, but yeah, I'll take it. So hello, good evening, everyone. I am the guy who will be filling in for for DZ. And yeah, I'm very excited for tonight's episode. We are gonna be, or rather, our guest is someone I really look up to. Because he made me buy. They made me buy a couple of games, or rather, a couple of controllers and a game.
That's true.
And I'm looking to learn a lot from them. And Harold, I think you're better off introducing our guest because you have waited, from what I've heard, just a couple of years.
2 years, Miko P. 2 years to be exact. I've waited this long to get this person on the show, and I've bided my time. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen? It's about time. We had Asteroid last week, but this week, we're amping up the fire. No longer. It's time, people, to set some fire to some boats. It's Nausicaa. How you doing, Nausicaa?
Hey everyone. I'm so thankful. Thank you so much for having me here, guys.
It's our pleasure. Like we said, we've been waiting a long time. We've been waiting a long time, and unfortunately, DZ's not here to enjoy the moment. But Nausicaa, we met on a rainy day. No, it was a nice sunny day. We met a couple years back. We met like 2 years ago ish. Actually, it's around 3 years already, I think. Right? 2018.
Can't believe it's been that long, honestly.
I've lost track. I've lost track of the time. But you know what? I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we get to talk. We met in an event, in an FPS event. We were all shoutcasting. You and I had the pleasure of sharing the same foot space, the same square meterage, to entertain a crowd of zero, and it was fantastic. It was absolutely amazing to live stream at home to people and deliver some quality entertainment. But we'll get to that in just a little bit. We start the show off the same way every time. And that's by asking you, Eno, and you, Miko P, and everyone at home, finger hearts, what have you been playing? Miko P, why don't you kick us off and tell us what you've been playing?
Okay, so the new Auto Chess VNG patch has just arrived, and I'm very curious about how it will change the somewhat kind of stale meta during the past patch. And yeah, I've been playing a little bit of Auto Chess VNG just to see how things are going, and of course to watch some of the international players and just keep track of their performance. I don't know why I don't have any use for all of those stats, but just keeping tabs on things. Other than that, it's the LFL life in Final Fantasy 14 for me. I'm having just so much fun, especially since they introduced this new mount, and we are taking care of a couple of new player friends who are just making their way and starting their adventures in Eorzea, and just having fun accompanying in dungeons and guiding them on the right path. Telling them off when they step on orange circles where they're not supposed to. Just the usual.
Oh, Miko P, you gotta tell them to stay out of poop, man. You gotta stay out of the fire. That's MMO 101.
It's worse than fire. Sometimes it's falling rocks. Sometimes it's the whole floor caving in. Sometimes it's a bunch of lasers. But you know how DPS goes. They just jump into it for some reason, and you have to save them. But yeah, that's all in a day's work. I'm enjoying the game so much. But enough about me. What about you, Harold? What have you been playing?
Miko P, when I play DPS, this is what I look like. I'm just jamming. I'm just jamming on keys, man.
I'm DPS. Blocking you from my party, then.
That's how I play DPS, bro. Whether it's an FPS or an MMO, I'm just pressing control over and over again. I think my DPS is a total of 0. No, I've been playing quite a bit of Fall Guys, Miko. I was supposed to play a clip right now. I was supposed to play a clip, but I do not remember where I put it. I really don't remember where I put my clip. Usually I take good care of my clips, but
Dang it. Okay,
I'm trying to look for. Wait, here. Let me just pull this up on screen. I've been playing Fall Guys, and it's been super fun. I'm not gonna lie. As much as I love Marvel's Avengers so far, and as great as I already see Cyberpunk becoming, I think this hands down is my game of. Look at that move right there. I
Fooled everyone into going right.
I know, right?
Actually, more than anything else, since you and Dino are very experienced casters, I'm actually personally curious how you'll cast this kind of game.
Oh, Miko,
especially
you're gonna have to wait and
plays
see.
like those, it's like
juke?
next level mind games, but in a simpler format. And I'm very interested how you guys will show it on screen.
Dude, that's actually a legit question. I'm actually excited to see how people end up doing it. You know, it's uncharted territory on some level. Something this simple yet competitive yet addictive and fun and engaging. You know, like the beauty in Fall Guys is the simplicity. So I'm super curious to see how we'll be calling things like that if and when we get the opportunity. You know, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. But aside from that, real quick, I have also been earlier. I was traversing the world of the Avengers, and I was wait a second, hold up, people. Riku just entered the building. She just hit us up with that follow. Riku, Ino's seat.
Hey, Ricky, what's up?
Ino's seat is always welcome for you when you have the time as well. All right, I just wanted to bring that up. Maybe you could both be on the show at the same time. Yeah.
Hey, that would be great.
I would love that. I would love that. Let's make it happen. Okay. So I've just been playing some Avengers. I was streaming it earlier, and I wasn't doing a good job of streaming it because I just kept gasping and fanboying out and geeking out about like all the stuff, because what you kind of see on screen is kind of what you're getting. It's like this big Avengers like one-day pop-up theme park, and I just wanted it to be real. I was kind of like really in the moment. I was in the middle of it. I was like, oh my god, ice cream's free, Iron Man helmets, and Thor shows up behind you, and Captain America just talks about how he read your fanfic. I was really projecting. So yeah, it was so fun, and I can't wait to keep going. I might not even be able to contain myself, guys. I might not even wait to stream it. I might just keep playing until the sun rises later, because I zeroed in, and it takes a lot for a game to do that to me these days. You know, like keeping the attention span. I know you guys are probably familiar with how hard it is to get attached to a game, and there's just so much to love about the Avengers for me personally, and the fact that they were finally able to put it in a video game of this quality is amazing. Okay, enough about me. Everyone in the chat, what have you guys been playing? As we find out what Nausicaa has been playing, guys. Nausicaa, what have you been up to? Oh, why is the music playing? Oh, there we go. Okay, what have you been playing?
What have I been playing? Well, if we're talking about recently, yeah, I've been playing Fall Guys too. I feel like so many people I know were playing Fall Guys, and then I eventually had to give in because everyone else is playing it, and I do not regret it, honestly, because it's so fun. It's honestly one of those games where, you know, when you're tilted for playing something else, which in my case is Valorant literally all the time, then it's one of those games where you're just like, you know what, I don't want to think right now. I just want to hop into a game of Fall Guys with a couple of friends, you know, and just mess around and scream and shout for like the next 15 minutes or something. So definitely a lot of Fall Guys, and maybe a bit further back in the start of quarantine, I finished Final Fantasy VII, which is probably one of my, at least the remake for the PlayStation, and definitely one of my favorite games probably of like all time. So it was such a good game. So yeah, mostly, but these days, yeah, it's just mostly Valorant and Fall Guys when I have the attention span for it. So yeah,
man.
and of course Smash too. So yeah.
Oh yeah, of course. You bring up Final Fantasy VII. I asked this for one or two other people who've played it and have come on the show to discuss it. How did it feel once you finished the chapter? Because, as we all know, Final Fantasy VII Remake is just one part of a multi-part release.
Yeah.
So did you feel like, oh my god, what now? I need to fill this hole in my life? Or was it more of like, okay, I can wait? How was it for you at the end?
Definitely the former. Like, when I finished the game, I was sitting in my chair for like 5 minutes thinking, like, just processing everything that happened. If Riku's in the chat, she would know this because she was the first person I messaged. I literally took a photo of the TV screen and was like, oh my god, it's over. And I think for the next week, I was just looking for YouTube videos on like everything I could find about the game, like people talking about like the theories and like everything. So I fell in the Final Fantasy remake hole there. And for a second there, I was actually considering emulating the original game, like just so I could find like the old stuff. But yeah, I ended up not having time for that. But yeah, I was definitely the former, falling into the rabbit hole there. It was a wild ride.
Yeah, Riku's agreeing with you, saying she knows that moment, and I think she's saying Final Fantasy. I hope I'm getting this right. 14 too.
Yes.
Like
also,
does it have that same
actually,
feeling?
She was the one who got me into it. Actually, I played it a bit. I think late last year or earlier this year, and then I decided to like actually buy the game because it's free trial at first until like level 30 or something. Yeah. And then I actually bought the game recently because they had like a quarantine sale or whatever. That's a bad way to put it, but yeah, they had a sale. And and then I ended up going for it. And it's actually really fun. So yeah, that's another game under rotation.
Oh man. I love how you say rotation because again, attention span, sometimes you get to a certain point and you're like, I kind of feel like something else now. Especially during quarantine, emotions are mixed, feelings are flying everywhere. It's hard. It's hard to stay still, even though we're required to for our very lives. Mikopi, you look like you want to say something. I'm curious.
Oh yeah. No, I just want to interject that. Okay, so Herald, there are 2 people now playing FF14 in this chat. So what are you gonna do about it? When are you gonna play? Uh-oh. Herald. Wow, no plans whatsoever, huh?
No, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out.
I don't know what else we need to show you to convince you, but
I know.
Yeah.
Everyone I know now, it's like Fall Guys. Slowly, one by one, everyone I know is playing FF14. Like the only thing missing is Riku just telling me like, buy the game, like Fire Emblem.
Yeah. Please, Riku, you're our last hope. Say something to this guy.
Dude, I'm glad Riku's here because, every time I see her name now, I just think of Fire Emblem and every single one of those posts she made about telling people to buy the game. It was so hilarious. Were you one of the victims? I'm curious.
Yeah, literally when Rev Major ended, I went backstage. And she has this Data Blitz plastic in her hand. And I'm like, yo, what's that? And she's like, this is, congratulations on, the big event. Here's a gift. And I'm like, oh my God.
She not only convinced you to play, she got you the game?
Yeah, she got me the game and I spent 170 hours on it. Oh my God. It's crazy. So definitely no regrets. And Fire Emblem's like the classic Riku moment. It's like everyone knows, everyone knew like for a whole month, like her feed was like half random stuff and half like for people who haven't bought Fire Emblem yet, I don't know why you haven't bought Fire Emblem yet. If you're looking for a sign, this is the sign.
This is the sign. This is it, right in your face. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad I didn't have access to Switch then. I think I would have fallen victim. The pull was that strong. Like I was nowhere near the radius and I still felt the gravity. It was just that strong, Riku. You strong. You've been working out, girl. So Shellfox saying Final Fantasy 14 as well. I think. Are you playing too, Shellfox? Are you one of those people that see Mikupi's name on the server and you're like, hey, I know that guy. I've seen him on the internet. That's happened, right, Miko? Like someone from Quit Stalling Fam, like one of the people that were like, I think I saw Mikupi in Eorzea.
No, I doubt it. I live in the province server. Like very few people play.
No, legit. I'll look for the post. Someone messaged in the group chat and they were like, is this the same Mikupi? I'll look for it later. Okay.
Okay.
RD saying I'm a convert and Edelgard was right. Okay,
man.
I have no doubt that that's a Fire Emblem reference and that he was a convert by Riku. I have no doubt now. Oh, Riku also saw you in Eorzea. Mikupi. See, you are one feisty. Where's Waldo? All right, I feel like people are just randomly seeing you and like, is that Mikupi from the Philippines? Like, that's pretty cool,
right,
dude.
So, yeah. Just get the game Herald and go for it.
We'll see. Man, that energy's strong. Shellfox, Nausicaa, Mikupi. Was it RD also? I don't even want to look. I don't want to get convinced anymore. I'm gonna look at BMO saying, the Avengers game quenches that Marvel drought because of the movie release delays. Yes, that's another thing. We're not even getting Black Widow yet, so we weren't even getting Falcon Winter Soldier. Okay, enough about that. So Riku was saying, I know she said what she's been playing. Oh, we already read it out. Anyone else? What have you guys been playing? Chat, let us know. And Kat Olan was in the chat as well, and she saw the blind girl. I have this in the background every episode these days. It's just one of those classic Philippine novels that you got. It's one of those necessities you gotta show on your screen. Okay, Ino, we want to talk about Chu. All right, we want to talk about you. So we're gonna get to that. Sweating now. You guys got me all scared about Eorzea. Let's get to talking about our guest. All right. But anything else, you guys? You want to give any shout outs to the people out there who might want to listen eventually to the podcast? Maybe catch some of our clips. You want to? Anyone?
I mean, well, Riku, first of all, she was like the first person I said, hey, yo, we're live. But yeah, Riku, and I asked her, I was here last week, right? So yeah.
Yes.
God, we haven't seen each other in ages too because of the whole quarantine thing too. And I think a couple of my friends who I play Valorant with might be watching too. So what's up, nerds?
Nice. Hey, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you enjoy. All right. We got a ton of questions for Ino. So that means we got to get to the interview portion of the show. If you guys want to give your game recommendations, all you devils tempting us out there, like our very own keyboard Avenger saying she's playing Apex right now. Oh man, another game that I just patched. I don't even know if I'm gonna play it. Let's do the interview. Let's do it. Here we go. What? Interview. Oh my God, the soundboard's not working again. Hold on, give me 1 second. I swear. This part of the show is brought to you by the Quit Stalling Geekcast. Check us out Sundays at 1 p.m. That's right, after lunch. Get your geek and pop culture fix with me, Herald Silvestre, Wanta Saldana, and the sensei humor himself, Derek O'Brien, as we talk about all things pop and geek culture. Sundays, or check us out on Spotify and YouTube. That's the Quit Stalling Geekcast. It's time to interview Ino.
Welcome to the inn, friend.
Yes, welcome to the inn, Ino. The focus is on you. The spotlight has shone, and we want to get intimate. We want to get to know you a little bit better. Let's play some simple chill music as it's labeled. I don't know. There. Let's slow the pace down a little bit, but keep it upbeat. Ino, I used to know you by a different name. All right. When we first met, when we first encountered each other. You went by Amplifier. I'm super curious about the name change. I'm super excited to find out about the backstory behind this, and of course the origins of the name itself. Could you give us a little rundown of the events?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so like you said, I used to go by the name Amplifier, and that was when actually that was just an IGN that I used like when I started playing games online, basically, which was how old was I? Probably 13 or 14. Ragnarok Online days, if anyone still remembers that game.
Oh man.
And of course Warcraft 3. So yeah, that was my IGN then, and it just so happened that I got into League of Legends eventually, and then esports, and then casting, and I just kind of carried over the whole Amplifier name into casting. So that was where Amplifier came from, and then time flew by. You know, I casted for like it's been I think 5 years, almost 6, and then
Wow.
yeah, lots of things happened. You know, games came and went, and we went through the whole League of Legends thing, and then PUBG came around, and then what else? Overwatch, of course, which is how we met, and then yeah, eventually, well, League basically kind of staled for a bit, esports wise at least. It kind of staled for a bit here, probably last year, and this is when the whole well, for those who don't follow esports, there was this whole region changing thing where basically I don't want to get into it, but like it was a whole complicated thing. But basically, esports got all kind of messy for a bit here in C, and yeah, I stopped casting League basically, and then
And this is like the Southeast Asia region in general,
yeah,
not just local.
yeah,
Okay.
Southeast Asian region, yeah. So yeah, basically I stopped casting League after I came from Thailand, which was last February.
Okay.
And that's when I got into Smash. And when I got into Smash, that's when I felt like my direction was kind of changing. So I was kind of pulling away from like the esports scene that I was so heavily entrenched in for such a long time. And I was starting to get into more like maybe smaller community stuff. So things like Smash and just playing games regularly again without having to be a caster. And that's I think when I started to think about where I wanted to go from there. So Amplifier as a persona was very much League of Legends based. And when I started to switch gears, I think, to like other stuff, like not even just limited to video games, but like making content maybe, or maybe even just doing things outside of games, I figured, it might be a good opportunity for me to develop, or maybe not develop, but like, yeah, to switch over to like something that felt more genuine or real to what I was doing at the time, which was no longer League of Legends. So, and then, eventually, I guess attached to that, which is the whole other half, was me coming out, basically, actually, as like non-binary and bi was also a very big factor in switching the name, because I feel like people who knew me from League of Legends, that was like way back in when did I? That was 2015, Garena baby days. We were all baby casters then. Riku was there. We were the very first batch of casters ever for them. And I'm sure a lot of people who knew me from back then they probably had an image of me in their mind, and I felt like if I stuck by the name Amplifier, it would be hard, I guess. So I figured it would just be much easier to like, okay, fresh start, just switch over the name and yeah, start fresh, basically. That's that. And then Nausicaa, the name itself, is from one of my most favorite Ghibli films, which is Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. It's I think it was released in the 80s, I think, or late 70s. And Nausicaa is basically the main character. She's like this super brave and kind princess there. You guys, if for those who haven't seen the movie, I highly recommend watching it, because people usually have only watched Spirited Away. Ghibli has so many more really good movies, and Nausicaa is one of them.
Moving
So
Castle,
so basically that's where the whole thing came from.
That's excellent. I love that you're so outspoken about it, because a lot of people might not know you made the switch. You actually didn't even rename your Facebook page. You just created a new one altogether. I'm curious on what went through your mind all throughout that, because you mentioned that you didn't want to be stuck in sort of a pattern or in a shell of who you were 5 years ago, because a lot of people change in 5 years. A lot of people change in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's of course in a time now where we're so progressive, where we're more accepting of many different things these days. Not to mention gender and the way people identify themselves as, or who people identify themselves as. What was the final straw, or what pushed you over the edge to finally go for it? After 5 years, or or within the time frame in between.
Yeah. What was it? I mean, yeah, because the thing is, like, I came out before I changed over to the whole Nausicaa name. So, I mean, I definitely was not thinking about the whole Nausicaa thing as I was coming out. Coming out in itself is such a stressful thing. So, like,
Sure.
and that probably happened like last year. Yeah, last year. So that whole thing, I had to process that whole thing first for like a good amount of time. And during that time, I was very much absent from esports, mostly because of fear. Like coming from the whole amplifier persona thing, coming from League and all that, and with people not really knowing that part of me back then. A big part of me, I guess, was just really afraid to present that part of myself, especially in esports, because as progressive as some people are today, for the most part, it's still pretty scary. So during the time that soon after I came out, that's when I started especially when Smash started to get really big here, right before the pandemic hit.
Yes.
I was visiting a lot of casuals and tournaments and stuff like that. That's when people started asking, hey, do you plan to cast Smash, blah blah blah. And I remember I sat down on the table with Astra. I think it was our first time casting Smash at Playbook at the time, and I was thinking,
wow.
what name am I going to use? Because I hadn't casted in like probably a month or two before we casted Smash that day. And I was like, So I think after that day was when I was like, wait, yeah, I think I feel different now. In general, like being in the gaming community, it's like this feels different because I'm in a whole different environment. This isn't League anymore. Like, and the community is all different. So I think that's when I started thinking, maybe a persona change wouldn't be such a bad idea. And then I think, early this year, a couple of months later, Valorant came in, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is it. Like, I'm actually enjoying this game, and if ever things go well, like with the esports scene, I think a new persona would be a pretty convenient way for me to like just start from scratch. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Fantastic. You touched upon that. You touched upon the sort of fear, a bit of paralysis in terms of not just the scene itself, but the community and how welcoming they might be. How difficult is it to go through that and not have a community that not know that the community might be there for you? How was that as an experience? I'm genuinely curious, because this is, for me, personally, I've never been able to open up to someone like this. I've never been able to talk to someone on this deep a level regarding their identity. So I'm genuinely curious, especially in the context of the gaming scene, which has been known to be toxic.
Yeah, that's a great question, honestly, and I feel like, I mean, definitely my experience is not what do you call it? Like it's my experience is my own, and I definitely can't speak on behalf of like so many other queer gamers out there. I feel like, honestly, for me, the only reason I ended up getting to where I was because I, for the most part of my life, majority of my life, I presented as male. So like up until I came out, I was super safe. But it's during the time that I came out, at least to my friends, for example, to those who were close to me, that obviously that felt safe because I was coming out to people who I knew I could trust, my family and my friends. But it was a whole other thing. For example, looking for jobs and stuff like that, and actually thinking about esports and the gaming community again after coming out, because that's a whole different thing. You're dealing with people who could be miles and miles away from you behind their keyboards, and they have all the power to say whatever they want. And people won't always have like the mental capacity to absorb whatever energy is coming from their screen. So there was definitely a lot of fear on my end, especially since I didn't know, at least at that time, I didn't know any queer gamers. So I didn't know what reception was supposed to look like for a queer gamer. And obviously, to look at what reception looks like for queer people in general, you don't really have to look at the gaming community. You can just look around you and see that while there are people who either don't care or in general just accept queer people, still I would say, I'm willing to say that, or I think it's safe to say that majority still are not accepting of queer people. And so when you funnel that into just looking at the gaming community, then I think it gets scarier, honestly, because as we know, the gaming community, most people in the gaming community are, cisgender hetero men, and
yes,
it's not exactly a it's not exactly a safe community even for women, for example. So it was definitely a lot of fear on my end. That's why I kind of just laid low for a while, for a couple of months when I had come out, at least in the esports scene. And then that's when I happened to come across, because when I started playing Smash, I feel like it was great because I started to look into the fighting game community, and I saw people like Sonic Fox. For people who know them, they're a non-binary player of a hell of a lot of fighting games, and they're really, really good at them, FYI.
yes.
And that was the first time I think I actually saw, a queer gamer, and I could be mistaken. I'm wrong, because technically, before I found out about Sonic Fox, yes, on the screen, before I found out about Sonic Fox, I knew Remelia, who was a trans woman and player for League of Legends. But I didn't really know her that much at the time because I wasn't really into the NA scene, but where she was from. But yeah, I knew her. But yeah, you know what I mean? You see what I mean? It's like there's so few people, and chances are, if you're watching this, you've never heard of these people before, unless you were really looking at the scene. But yeah, there were just so few people I could look up to, who were queer and also who happened to be in the gaming community. So it was just really scary. But eventually, I started seeing more and more of these people. And while I think there are still very few or very little representation, I eventually, got kind of tired of hiding, and I felt like I owed it to myself to just get it over with and rip the band-aid off, and trust that even though people wouldn't, or at least people I don't know, wouldn't exactly be receptive, at that point I just didn't really care, honestly, because I was like, you know what, I don't care, and I've got friends who will be there to support me. So I was like, you know what, let's just do it. And for all I know, I could be misjudging people. For all I know, things would go much better than I expected. So yeah, here we are. That's pretty much it.
So how important was that support system? I'm sure you had a select few friends that you wanted to come out to immediately. I'm sure there were those people that you wanted to reach out to first before you kind of expanded.
Yeah.
How important was that, and how important were they to, to your ability to speak freely and speak openly about who you are?
Yeah, I feel like the support system is definitely like the number one thing you need to be thinking about before anything. I feel like for anyone who is questioning their sexuality or something, or think they might be queer in some way or the other, I feel like it's extremely important that you look at your support system in your mind and look at the people who you can really trust, because I feel like through the tough times, and there will definitely be as you're coming out, they're going to be the ones who are there for you and to support you. And I definitely had it planned out. I was like, okay, I'm going to tell these people first, which is obviously like my family and my siblings, who played a huge part in my growth in general. I think in that aspect and all other aspects, like my family was definitely first. And then after my family, like, okay, I'm going to tell like these friends, like these 4 people or 5 people. And then after my friends and those 4 or 5 people, I can tell maybe like another 10 people. And then after that, I'm just gonna come out general and then screw it. Whatever happens, happens. So yeah, I feel like, I mean, not everyone obviously doesn't have the privilege of coming out the way I did. Because, for example, there are people who can't even open up to their family. Like, if anything, opening up to their family could be dangerous for them, and that's why they can't come out.
Yes.
But yeah, that's why I feel like a support system is so important, because you need to be able to find those people who can be there for you when you feel like no one's going to be there for you. And in general, I think in that sense, I feel like that's where the gaming community can definitely improve a lot on, because I'm sure there are gamers out there who, especially when we have so much, well, not so much, but now that we have games, for example, like Overwatch, where there are a couple of queer characters there too, and on media, we have we've got a lot of queer people being represented on media too. It's like, what if there's a 12-year-old kid in your Valorant game who thinks they might be queer, and what are you gonna do about it? Are you gonna be that guy who's gonna shit on this person and call them all these names, or are you gonna be a good person in general who's gonna help the community in general? So yeah, that's pretty much it.
I like how you pointed out games though, because like you said, representation is becoming more and more the norm. Not as much as we'd like it to be, but it's trending in the right direction, right? We're seeing queer characters, trans characters in games like The Last of Us. Something as mundane as an NPC in World of Warcraft for the new expansion Shadowlands, where they've taken into account that as mythological as this character would be, of course they'd be non-binary. So we have to figure out how to represent that properly. So people are becoming more aware, and it's interesting to see the response, because we kind of grew up in an era where homophobia was such a norm, and it's thankfully slowly dying out. The future is looking better at the very least, and people feeling comfy opening up and coming out every single one of these people are just that 1%, that next step that we need to take slowly and surely. What do you think could possibly be steps for video games and representation in video games, aside from adding more characters? Do you have any thoughts on the specific subject matter? Because I know it might not be easy for a lot of people to come to terms with, but what do you think maybe the esports scene could do better to be more welcoming, maybe, or be more open towards things?
Yeah, man, honestly, that's a whole discussion. Like esports,
Understandable.
Esports, and also just gaming in general, I feel like still has so much work to do regarding like queer representation, whether that's like as characters in video games, or whether that's on esports leagues, like for example for League of Legends or other big games like Overwatch, where, for example, we had Annie, who was also a trans woman and Overwatch player, who had to retire, I think last year, from Florida Mayhem because of toxicity from the community. So I think both esports and just gaming in general has a lot of progress to make. Honestly, earlier today I was thinking about it, and I was looking back at the games where there were queer characters that I actually felt were whole human characters. And I say that because there are a good number of games out there that do have queer characters, but they're kind of just there, like they're just token, it's a token queer character in a game.
Yes.
We'll put you there, we'll call you gay, but that's it. Like you're not a whole person. You're just that it's just to show that we're an inclusive publisher, game developer, blah blah blah. But
yes.
That's why I guess for some people, and I guess me too, it kind of sucks to have woken up this morning thinking like it's actually kind of hard to think about queer video game characters that you actually admire as like actual whole human being characters. Like, but you did mention though The Last of Us, for example, with, sorry, I forget if it's Elle or Ellie because of Umbrella Academy, which I watched recently.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but whichever, like Ellie. There are actually characters there that were written well and actually felt like whole human beings, and that being queer was just a part of, you know, their character. It wasn't something that felt forced. Like for example, the whole Harry Potter chaos thing that happened. Yeah, I don't want to get into that, but you know, it's like there have been good characters, you know, that were able to represent, you know, an authentic queer experience. And I think that's great, and I think that it's those characters that we should really be looking at as like frames of reference for the future, because you know, there are still games right now where things are pretty meh. Like for example, for those who have played Fire Emblem Three Houses, as much time as I spent on that game, the whole romance dating thing was a big question mark for me. Because for those who haven't played it, you might want to know that because first of all, you have to pick between character selection. Character selection is actually one. I don't even have to elaborate, do I? Because like character selection, boy or girl, right? It's like that's actually still a thing. That's why, you know, when you look at games, for example, like The Sims 4 or Animal Crossing New Horizons, where you don't have to pick a gender and can just go straight to like, you know, making the character regardless of, like, you can actually choose like their body proportions and like whatever. So it's like, just from there, like looking at character selection, there's already a big problem because we're enforcing like the whole binary thing, which is, you know, harmful to a lot of non-binary people, to a lot of trans people. And even going past character selection, like I was saying, Fire Emblem Three Houses, the romance thing. For example, there. So if you pick a guy character, obviously you have a crap load of romance options for dating women. But you actually only have two options to date men. One is a character named Lindhart that you can choose to romance, and the other is a guy, I forget his name, actually starts with an A, but it doesn't even count because you get into a kind of intimate relationship with this guy, only to max out the relationship and find out that you marry a woman at the end, and you two end up becoming best friends. So it's kind of messed up and weird, because you have to compare this to when you select a female character. You have, I think, like 5 or 6 different other women that you can choose to date. So like when you think about who this game is catering to, which is probably men, you know, they were thinking, you know, we don't need to put men love men, you know, relationships here. We can just put the lesbians in there. They'll probably be happy with that, and it's all fine and dandy, you know, like and obviously that's a big problem. Because you know, what if, especially for example, the character named Claude in the game, who like flirts with you, the main character, regardless of your gender, only to find out you can't romance him. Honestly, I was disappointed. I'm sure a bunch of other people were disappointed by that.
It's a little frustrating.
It is. There was a lot of leading on, and I'm sure, I am 100% sure that Fire Emblem is not the only game with weird things like that, because, you know, on the one hand you want to say, oh yes, thank God, you know, gay relationships in this game, but you know, on the other hand, it's like, oh, but the women can love other women, but the guys can't like guys. Why is that a thing? You know, so there's
so
definitely
selective.
it's selective, right? And you know, you can't help but wonder, were the devs, were they catering to a certain target market with this? You know, are they, you know, fetishizing, you know, certain people? So it's like, there's definitely still a lot of progress to be made there for the game devs, and then also in esports, I guess, because I feel like you know, the people who join esports leagues, like, again, to bring up again Remelia from League of Legends, you had Annie from the Overwatch League, who both had to leave and stop being a pro player, basically, because of toxicity from the community. And but I also don't want to put the blame here on esports leagues alone, because while esports leagues definitely should have some kind of support system, for not just queer people, like all the players in general, in terms of their mental health and whatever. Even aside from that, it's like the esports leagues aren't the people to blame here, because the harassment wasn't coming from the esports leagues. It was coming from people. It was coming from the gaming community. So even with game devs and esports, leagues and publishers aside, it's like all the or not all the weight, but most of the weight, really has to fall on the community itself, because it's the community really that will be shaping the behavior that we have toward queer people who are also a part of the community. So yeah, I feel like I went on a whole tangent there. I forgot the question.
No,
but
that's great though, because that's very in depth. You were able to point out that society as a whole still has a lot to go through. There's still a lot of things we have to fight for. Still a lot of things that we have to, again, do those 1%. Build up to get to that point. So that's also a great way of seeing it, through the lens of video games, because again, you have that little microcosm of the gaming industry and professional esports, as well as the average consumer. That you touched on all of that. So I appreciate that. Especially as someone still learning to just learning in general about all of this. So I want to learn, and I want to be able to be. It sounds pandering to say, but be an ally. I want to be able to be on the right side of history as well. I want to know that on some level I can do my part. So I'm very glad that you went off on that tangent, because you touched on a lot of things there. RD in the chat mentioned earlier that he himself is going through something similar to what you were going through. So hearing about experiences like that, and being able to know that, okay, I have a friend out there, I know someone out there that I can relate to. Maybe I can talk to him, talk to them, talk to her. There's comfort in knowing that, and that's why we also crave for representation, right? That's why we always look for it. So again, I think that's one of the great ways video games can start helping out in that sense, because it's a multi-billion-dollar billion-dollar industry, and we know a wide array of people play games, whether they be mobile or console or PC. There's a wide array, and there's definitely a voice there to be able to reach out to many people. So again, very 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 appreciated that you're so honest about this and very upfront. Shilfox saying, I recommend the game Tell Me Why. I'm not familiar with Tell Me Why. Can someone tell me why? I haven't heard about that one too. Let me search it actually. Thank you. I'm very curious. 10 Speed says, or maybe don't make sorry, my microphone's in the way. Don't make the sexuality of the character the highlight. Instead, focus on creating a character with depth and just have their sexuality as a matter of fact. Stop on some level, stop making that the focal point. Don't make that their character trait. Don't make that their defining trait. Make that more, again, maybe make it a little more normal. Don't make too big a deal out of it. I don't know. I'm throwing that out there. I actually, again, I have no clue. I'm learning as we go along. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely there's something to be gleaned from that, because we have a lot of game developers for sure who are probably doing that. They're thinking, oh no, maybe some game devs are actually thinking, whoa, turns out there's a lot of queer gamers out there. Maybe we should make character and make this character's whole selling point that they're gay, and then that's kind of just it. So and that's definitely harmful, obviously, for many reasons. Because first of all, what's your name? 10 Speed PH said, it's a very surface level thing, and it paints a very bad picture of who queer people are, because it makes people who aren't queer think, oh, look at this person, thinks they're special because they're all gay and stuff. It's definitely harmful in that sense. And so I can agree with that part. But at the same time, because when you put it as like, don't make the sexuality the highlight, I think that's something that I can agree on. I won't speak on for other queer people. That's definitely something I can agree on. I think that when you're writing a character, you definitely don't want to make certain, or you don't want to make aspects like that the highlight of the character, because we can spin it a different way. Like, let's say for example, the company's looking to make a black character, and they create this character and they make the whole, like, all the dialogue, all of the everything up to the aesthetic of the character so explicitly black as a character that they put nothing else into the character to make them seem like a whole human person. That's where the problem is because you're just taking this part of this or you're taking this very surface level thing and you're making it like the whole point of the character, which is lame, obviously. So like, for example, you can look at Ellie from The Last of Us, and she's a great example because she's this whole person. You follow her from the first game. She goes through all of these crazy experiences, all these traumatic experiences, and she grows as this whole person. And then you see her come into the second game, and spoiler alert, I'm sorry, but she's a lesbian apparently. And but it's not, they don't focus on it like that's all that she is in the second game. It's one part of her. It's an important part of her that the devs shouldn't be afraid to talk about, and I'm glad they didn't, because I heard in posters even that this whole relationship thing she had with one of the characters, they weren't afraid to put that up on posters and to talk about it and to really flesh out the whole her being queer as part of her character. But at the same time, they also delve into like all the other aspects of her as a character which were rooted back in the first game. She's this whole person with all these feelings, and she's this very strong character but also this weak character at times. She has her own weaknesses, and basically when you're writing a character, I agree with Tense BPH, you don't want to make it the highlight. You wanna like actually consult with queer people and ideally capture the an authentic queer experience without making it like you're not just using it to perform and like look like you're an inclusive dev. You're actually trying to make like a whole human being. You're actually trying to represent people and not just gay or something.
Not just make them a caricature of one trait.
Yeah, exactly. So
that makes sense. And great insight, 10 Speed. Okay, we've talked about something that hits really close to home. I'm glad you were able to open up, and I wanna shift gears a little bit. I want to be able to talk about, again, we're mentioning going beyond you being queer, beyond people being queer. I want to know more about the person. I want to know more about the rest of you as a whole. I want to go back to the shoutcasting side later on as well. Like we mentioned, that's how we met. That's how Mikupi got to be influenced by you unknowingly. So I want to return to that later. But I want to tap on a little more fun side of things. We know that you've loved playing Fire Emblem. You spent 150 hours over, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. What are other games that you played growing up? From the Pepsi Mans of the world to the Tekkens, all the way to, oh my gosh, sports games. What were the games that Nausicaa grew up on?
Oh man, it's actually funny because when was it? Last month, my dad brought up these files from his laptop, and he unearthed this video of me 3 years old sitting on my kuya's lap playing StarCraft Brood War, and that was definitely, RTS games were definitely one of the very first games that I got into. So StarCraft was like probably one of the first few games I played. Oddly enough, it wasn't like some child game, although obviously we also had the Elmo stuff in there. So the Elmo stuff and the Hercules games were all in there. But
dude,
yeah,
oh
there
my gosh.
were.
Sorry, the Hercules game. That is an underappreciated game, man.
Yes. If I say Hercules game and if you know it, you know it. If you know it, you know it. Yeah, it was.
Yes.
That was an amazing game, actually. But yeah, I grew up with RTS. I grew up with Ragnarok was another game that I played for a really long time because of my cousin. So Ragnarok Online Dynasty Warriors, the whole freaking franchise from 3 up to whatever. I don't know. There were a bunch of them. Yeah, and also a couple. My dad and my older brother were into fighting games. So Tekken 3, I think, was the first fighting game I ever played. And there was this game on the Nintendo 64 called Killer Instinct. If anyone knows that game. So
we've talked about that before on this show. Wait, let me keep going. I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, so Killer Instinct. Then the Nintendo 64. There were a bunch of games on the Mario, Super Mario, obviously. And then I think eventually after the whole so after like 10 years old, I started getting into online games. So that was the whole Warcraft 3. You know, you start to play things like Dota. Yes, oh my god, that throws me back. Yes, that's definitely the first fighting game I ever played. My older brother used to bully me all the time on that game. I did not have
on
fun.
Killer Instinct. Wow.
Yeah, so I would just hide the second controller so no one would play with me, and then I would just yeah, those were good times. But and then online games. So like Ragnarok Online, Warcraft 3, all the custom games in there. And then I started to get into MMOs. So Guild Wars 2, if people played that, I did play that for a while.
Oh yeah.
Sure. And then League just kind of took over basically. So that's when I hit third year high school. My friends started going to obviously. My friends started going to the nearby computer shop, and they were like, "Yo, you should try this game. It's so fun." Blah blah. And I was like, "Hey, it looks." I was like, "Oh, it looks so lame. Dota 2 looks nicer." I was like, "This game looks like trash. It looks like it's for kids." And but I tried it anyway because I was like, whatever. If like 6 people are playing it, I might as well join them. And then I played it for like the next whatever years, 6-7 years, and then I got into casting it, and then. I think the rest you guys already know from League. I got into all the other esports stuff, so Overwatch and then PUBG. Everyone got into the battle royale stuff, so Fortnite for a while, and then Smash and League and Valorant now and Fall Guys. So that's the game timeline.
I want to let Miku P get a question in because I've been hogging the mic, but I do have one more question before I pass the baton. Nausicaa, I'm so curious. You mentioned Smash Brothers. Yeah. What got you into Smash Brothers? We kind of skipped over that. We kind of glanced over that.
Yeah. Oh god. So Smash. The first time I ever played Smash was on the Wii. So we had a Wii. My cousins from the US basically came home when I was around, I think 12 years old, and they brought the Wii with them. And to us, the Wii was like, whoa, what the heck is that? Because all we knew then was like PlayStation, other Nintendo stuff. This looked nothing like a Game Boy. So we were like, okay, let's try it. And they were like, I was like, okay, what games are on this? And they were like, there's tennis. I was like, what? Tennis? What? Why are we gonna play tennis? But they whipped out the Wii remotes, and I was like 12, and my cousins were like 8. So they were like, okay, let's try it. Oh man, we were hooked for like a week on that. We were sweating in our grandmother's TV room, and she was getting mad because we were so noisy. But we were playing the Wii like all the time. And then at some point, my cousin brings out the Smash CD, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna play Smash for a while now. You guys get out. So we were like, okay. And we were watching, and it was like, ooh, this looks interesting. So eventually, we got our own Wii. And we ended up getting Smash, and then me and my cousins basically like got hooked on it. But at the time, I wasn't really taking it seriously, obviously because I was like 12. So I was just all items on, all special moves on, just whacking each other, 8 players on a single stage. It was crazy. And then after our Wii broke, I stopped playing Smash for like a long. I didn't play the Smash 4, which is the one after Melee, basically on the Wii. And then Smash Ultimate was announced in late 2018, I think, or the beginning of 2019. And that was the time I'd mentioned I was laying low from League because the whole esports thing got like weird. So I was like, okay, looking for new games to play. Maybe there's something else out there. They announced Smash, and who was it?
Streets back. All right.
Yeah, I was like, wait, I can't remember exactly who it was that bought Smash ahead of me. It might have been my high school batchmate, or it might have been Asarai. But
oh, wow.
I heard they were playing it, and I was like, oh, Smash, wait, I used to play that when I was 12, 13, whatever. So I was like, what does it look like now? And I was looking at the YouTube videos, like, whoa, this looks way better than Smash from the Wii. So I played it, I think, with Astrai, and also in Playbook one time. I was like, oh god, this is actually kind of fun. And I was like, what if I actually, because at that point, you know, being 12 and being like 23, whatever, and being into competitive games at like that age, I was like, okay, what if I actually took this game seriously? So I did, and then I got hooked. And that was you know, I just started playing all the time, and then, you know, I found out there was this whole community of Smash players apparently, and yeah, I just fell into the Smash rabbit hole too. So that's Smash for you.
Oh man, Miku P, we mentioned this multiple times already on the show. how Nausicaa unwittingly got you into Smash. Yeah, he's talking about his origins in Smash and how surprisingly addictive it is. How did you find your experience when you finally got the game?
Well, for me, I was just having a lot of fun with the characters. I particularly like how it's very fundamental based, you know, for fighting games. Like it's very heavy on spacing and movement, and those are the things that I really appreciate when learning games. And of course, trying out the different cast of characters. Now, my girlfriend, on the other hand, immediately bought Joker and started playing, and that's her whole experience. Like, and I don't know. After playing for a while against her, yeah, I started to appreciate the game more and more, and because of that, I also got to appreciate when I was watching the finals of Evo, for example, like how good a person is playing versus what what a normal Smash player looks like versus a pro player. So it's just so yeah, in summary, it's like just because I got hit by Ino's AoE somewhere while watching the grand finals, I gained.
See if we can spot you in this photo. Let's see if we can.
Yeah. I'm somewhere in the really far back.
Oh man.
But yeah, that's how good our casting was. So yeah, because of that one moment, my eyes got opened into a new level of appreciation for the game. Like nowadays, I just not nowadays, but in the past, for example, tournaments, rather than just passing through, I really stopped to watch and see what's happening. And actually, I'm very curious to ask about how casting goes for you. For example, because you've been playing and casting different genres, and I'm really curious about how you approach each genre when it comes to casting. Like, do you have a set what do you call this? Like a set pattern, or like a set pattern how you approach them, or do you approach genres differently when you are trying to cast them?
That's such a good question, honestly, because you're very right in that I did attempt to jump from genre to genre. I will say that because the first game I ever casted was League, and so my fundamentals were definitely all on MOBAs. So when I started looking into because the first jump I made was coming from League to Overwatch, and that was probably the hardest transition I ever had to make, because League or MOBAs actually in general as a game, there's a lot of downtime. So it's very distinct. Like if you have a partner and you have roles, the partner just has to scream when things are happening, and then when things aren't happening, the other guy starts talking. It's very simple. It's all laid out for you. So you just have to say whatever is happening, and the downtime helps a lot. But with Overwatch and with FPS games, it was so different. Like especially Overwatch, for example, because when you look at, for example, other FPS games like Counter-Strike, where there's a considerable amount of downtime as well. Not as much as a MOBA, but there is downtime. When you compare CSGO or even Valorant to Overwatch, where in Overwatch it's like crap is just happening all at once. You were asking about if I had a pattern, if I was looking into a genre. And I think I only realize it now that when I'm looking into a new, and this doesn't actually go for just jumping from genre to genre, it goes for every game. It's like when I'm looking to get into a new game and maybe thinking of casting the game, you definitely start from scratch as if you have, you're basically starting as if you're like a kinder student from that game. So you're for me at least, it helps to just start all the way from the fundamentals of just understanding the game. So obviously, because you have to play the game first before you cast it, but you also have to be able to look at the game from, what do you call this, outsider's point of view. Because when you're casting, you're a lot of the time, you're talking to people who probably don't you always assume that the people watching don't have as much knowledge as you. So when you're learning about the game, you take it from a very noob perspective, and so you're just learning all the fundamentals, and then eventually you start. Well, for me, the most helpful thing to do when I want to cast the game is I look at what other casters are doing, obviously. And from there you just kind of pick up on, okay, they're talking about, obviously casters will always look at the fundamentals and use those as kind of like a springboard to talk about all the other stuff that's happening in the game. So you look at the fundamentals of the game, and then they start to talk about the teams if it's a competitive game, and then they start to look at like what makes a player better than another player, and that's really where things start to get kind of nitty-gritty, because the details really go into that aspect. Whether you're playing Hearthstone, for example, or whether you're playing PUBG or Fortnite, it's like there are these certain things that make a pro player look obviously much better than, like you were saying, like a casual player. That's, it's the difference between looking at your friend who you played casuals with, your neighbor, versus like looking at the EVO 2019 finalist from Smash. It's like what you have to be able to talk about, what it is that makes your neighbor different from that guy who won the EVO 2019 finals. And so it's definitely not easy. The transition from a game genre to another is crazy. The only thing you can rely on when you're transferring to another genre is your fundamentals as a caster. But outside of like public speaking skills, you're starting from scratch, dude. You can only rely on public speaking skills and like your game sense. But outside of those two things, you really have to watch what other people are doing, how other casters are casting, and kind of just pick up from there.
Have you found yourself ever taking something from one esport or even one traditional sport and bringing it into a different game or a different genre?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Maybe I can think about it from League to Smash. And I think if there's, or actually even across other games, I think if there's one thing I did end up bringing from League and then into every other game, was what I had mentioned earlier, which is that, when you're casting a game, you always want to assume that the people watching don't know anything. They don't know the teams, they don't know probably what this game is. If it's a person who just happened to click their friend sharing this stream on Facebook feed and they just pressed it, you have to be able to communicate what's going on the screen in like the most entertaining and also comprehensible way possible. That's one thing I definitely carried across all the games, because you don't want to alienate people. I find that a lot of casters tend to do that because they're nerds, obviously. So so they tend to get into the deep stuff thinking they're talking to a bunch of grandmasters on Overwatch or something. But the really good ones, or at least the ones that I've come to admire, they're able to strike that really nice balance between getting kind of nerdy about it, which is obviously exciting in its own way, but also being able to talk about it in a way that your regular bronze iron player can understand what's going on and really enjoy the tournament, because at the end of the day, everyone just wants to enjoy. Maybe 30-40% of them want to learn something new, which is great. But yeah, you really want to make it an enjoyable experience. And that's definitely something I enjoy doing in Smash, because for Smash, you barely have to try to make the game fun. That's the great thing about fighting games, is that it's already fun. People will watch Tekken, never have played it or played like 30 minutes of it in their entire life, and they'll still stop in the middle of SM Mega Mall or whatever. If there's a giant screen that's playing Tekken, you can bet your okay, I won't curse again, but like there's definitely gonna be a good number of people that will stop to watch Tekken, and it's the same for Smash because or any fighting game in general because it's just so easy to understand. Because maybe it's similar for shooting games too. It's like for shooting games, the guy wants to shoot the guy. In the fighting game, obviously you want to beat the other guy. So you as a caster, if you want to make it entertaining, it's not that hard. And I think the struggle comes from you trying to interpret what's happening on the screen. I think that's where that's really where the struggle comes in, because fighting games don't have breathing room for you. The two players aren't gonna care if you can't catch up. They're gonna keep smacking the other guy, and it's up to you to figure out how you're gonna tell the people what's going on. But in general, shifting over from League to Smash was just such a fun experience, because even if I did struggle a lot during the first few games to even begin to talk about what's going on the screen, eventually you kind of just pick up on the things that you should be talking about, and it just becomes a really fun time, especially when you're really used to casting with the person you're next to, which in my case was Astra. We've been casting for like 5 or 6 years together, so when we did cast Rev Major, that was a blast because we also knew the people who were up on the stage, so we were like, oh yo, look, it's blah 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 and they're playing blah 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 this time. And at that point, I mean, the Smash community it's big and small at the same time. It's big in the sense that it's probably bigger than a lot of other fighting game communities here locally, but it's small in the sense that everyone kind of knows each other. So when you're casting, it's kind of like you're just shouting about the game with friends, so it's just really easy to enjoy.
Oh, that's great, man. And again, you touch on so many things, and you really cover a lot, from being able to interpret something as entertaining in a way that can be simple and understandable to someone who just tuned in, while at the same time being able to cater to the more experienced people, and then still bring in those casuals, give them the sort of like a crash course as you're describing the action. That's always a great challenge, and that's always something that as a caster or as a commentator you want to aspire to be able to do every single night. Again, we talk about consistency on a consistent basis. And that's great. That's fantastic. And the casters who were able to do that, are end up being touted as the best. You don't hear as much as people love the people who could just like rattle out every single ultimate and ability name. It's all for naught when you can't tell a decent narrative.
Yeah, for sure.
Fantastic. I've seen and had the pleasure of hearing you cast live, and I too can attest, like Miko P has, to your skill and quality in that area. So I don't want to make you blush on air, but you're pretty good. You're pretty good. I'm just saying, there's a reason why you're a pro. You're really good, and it shows in how you describe it. It shows in how you're able to eloquently bring forth what qualities make a good caster, or what qualities make an entertaining commentator when it comes to not just esports, but you touched on, again, something that transcends esports. You can bring a lot of the same fundamentals to traditional sports, or just describing something well enough that people will watch your YouTube video a million times. There's those fundamentals, like you mentioned, that carry over. So man, I appreciate the depth and the wisdom that you're able to bring out when describing something as mundane as guy punches guy in face, or ball goes in a hole, goal. There's really an art to it that can be boiled down to certain things. Mika, you have any other questions for Nausicaa? We're running a little long, but I do want to squeeze in a couple more, especially if the chat, if you guys have questions for our wonderful guest here, now is the time to ask him, and we'll throw it their way. So Miko P, do you have any other questions?
Oh yeah, I'm just curious. So right now, is there any game or genre that you would very much like to cast, and how would you go about it?
Oh, that's a good question.
Guys.
Is there a genre?
like
Okay.
any game.
What I will say is that I'm extremely impressed by people who can cast RTS games. One, because RTS games are definitely for nerds. Like, there's a level of nerdiness that you can get in games, and like RTS games are just a level that I can't understand. Like, if people have seen the kind of I lost my train of thought. Like, if people have seen, like, you know, for example, the Korean esports scene and the way they treat StarCraft, for example, it's like the amount of, first of all, as a caster, the amount of knowledge you have to have over just the game alone is one thing, and then it's like knowing all the strategies that you could possibly execute, depending on if you're, for example, Protoss or whatever. It's like it's just a whole thing, and I have so much respect for people who can cast RTS games. There was a time I considered getting into it, but it's just, I think of all the genres you want to get into, I feel like RTS games are the most overwhelming. Next to that would probably be MOBAs like Dota, but the next one would probably be RTS, because just getting into an RTS is just, there's a really steep learning curve before you can actually start to understand like the pro scene, and you know, like what all these demigods are doing with all their actions per minute and whatever. It's like it's a whole thing, and honestly I'm glad I didn't get into it, because I feel like it would have absorbed so much of my time and brain cells, which I barely have any of during this quarantine. But yeah, I feel like RTS would have been one of those genres I would have been, and I've definitely been curious of getting into. Yeah.
Oh man, Miko P, the knowledge has been dropped, man.
Yeah, awesome. Okay.
Oh, do you?
What next?
You looked like you were gonna ask something. I was like, do you have?
Oh yeah. I have one final question in closing though, and this is a bit personal. But before that, I would just like to share my appreciation about everything that you said so far. You gave me a new perspective on how games, or rather, new perspective on how games are treating queer people. Like, for example, in the Fire Emblem one was a very good example. It made me aware of these other games wherein, okay, maybe they're not putting it as a priority at the very least, or at least not giving people enough options. And moving forward, I mean, games should be looking more into that everyone gets represented, and not just, you know, to tick off boxes in a checklist. But yeah, with all of these things in mind, with your experience coming out with games being the way they are, and you of course being an experienced caster for years now, has this changed any of your goals moving forward as both a caster, a gamer, or a content creator? Has it established new goals for yourself, or nothing has changed?
That's a good question, and honestly, it's something that I've probably been struggling with ever since I made the shift from the whole amplifier thing to Nausicaa, and maybe in general just leaving League. I feel like I definitely feel like coming out changed a lot of me. Obviously, I think that goes for a lot of people who do come out as queer. I don't know if it changes my esports, for example, or gaming goals significantly, but I do think it changes the way I go about reaching those goals, for example. Because like, if for example me as a me being, for example, in the Smash community, for example, as a player or as a caster, or me being in whatever game I am in as a caster, it's like now that how do I say it? It's like now that I'm who I am, and I'm not afraid to be honest about that. I'm putting myself also at risk, but at the same time I'm also there's also this opportunity for me now to reach out to other people who are in the community who might also have had the same struggle that I've had, and so I think my approach to things is different. Like, for example, I think in the past few months, there's definitely a part of me that's been kind of longing for a local gaming community, but for queer people. And unfortunately, that's not something that's easy to find. Not just here. I can imagine in general, it's probably something that's hard to find even in other countries. But there are some, like for example, I had mentioned earlier Annie, who was an ex Overwatch pro, and I think is eventually going to become a Valorant pro player. She has a really sweet community actually, and they have this whole Discord group and everything. And seeing that, and seeing the potential that our own community here in the Philippines has, for example, it changes the way I go about things as a caster, I guess, and as a content creator, and just as a general gamer, I guess, because now I start to really look at and then I really start to look at the community, I guess, and what things we can improve on, and what ways we can really start unlearning a lot of this hateful behavior that a lot of us didn't want to learn, but unfortunately we were forced to learn ever since the beginning. A lot of these people who are, for example, homophobic or transphobic, they didn't, they weren't just born like that. A lot of them ended up learning a lot of that hateful behavior from other people. And so, now in the position that I'm in, and even, for example, for you guys or for anyone who's watching this, we all have that kind of power to change, the way things are right now, because it isn't so great. But like Herald said earlier, there's a lot of room for growth, and we should look at that as like an opportunity for us to really reach out to, for example, our queer friends and ask them how they're being treated, for example, in the gaming community, or just by you as a friend. Like how am I treating my queer friends, or do they feel safe around me, and in what ways can I help both my friends and because when you start from your own circle, for all that's creating kind of a ripple effect and improving the other people that they interact with, and maybe that improves the other people that they interact with, and it just becomes this whole ripple effect of eventually hopefully improving the gaming community. So my goals, I guess, as a caster don't really change, but the way I go about it and the way that I see the community, I guess, is a lot different now, because I used to come from a place of privilege, I guess, as someone who presented male, and all of a sudden I'm in this place where I don't really feel safe. And so now we have this opportunity to kind of listen, I guess, to more people and kind of come together and really create a much safer space for everyone, whether or not you're not a gamer, I guess. So yeah, that's it.
Excellent. You could be anything else? Any follow-up?
Oh no, I'm good. I'm just pure admiration, pure respect.
Yeah, agreed. Definitely agreed. You're glowing, Nausicaa. You're glowing. All right. So we've talked about MOBAs, FPSs, MMOs, fighting games. We've talked about a lot of genres. But as my final question, as a fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra,
oh my god,
what do you think would be the right genre for a game in the Avatar universe?
Oh man. First of all, I will say the number of times I've thought about an Avatar game, probably ever since I finished it as a young child, after seeing the 3 books from Atla. There are so many times I've like literally dreamt of like what a video game might be like if Avatar actually had a video game. For the genre, okay, to be fair, there was one video game I did play that was Avatar: The Last Airbender, and that was on the Wii. It was bad, but it was it could definitely be used as a as a springboard for if anyone else in the future wants to make one. I do feel like right now, ever since Breath of the Wild came out, I feel like that kind of environment is what I would think to be the most ideal for Avatar, because just the thought of traversing through all the 4 kingdoms on a paraglider of Aang or something, that would I would probably cry. like flying down a cliff on the man, that would hit different. So I think an open world Avatar game would be crazy, and it would probably be even crazier if someone made an MMO where you could create your own bender. Dude. And like go through the 4 kingdoms. That would be, that would be something.
Think of the PvP like side games that would just be like pro bending.
Yeah.
Like
PvP centered. Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be very nice.
Oh man. Or like in Korra, they had that sports thing. I forget.
Pro bending.
Yeah, pro bender, right? So, oh man, that would be Oh, that would be such a fun side game.
Don't you want
God.
RTS avatar?
RTS Avatar.
You've
I actually
not
don't know
enough,
what to say about it.
elements.
RD, man, he's like Sim 6, but
Not enough
Avatar.
fire.
Sir,
Oh my God.
you and the Fire Nation have some words. Oh man, no, that's not the worst idea. It's actually hilarious to think about. Let's
Wait,
see.
Sim 6 but Avatar. Yeah, he might actually be onto something there.
Bimo in the chat says both were in hibernation for 100 years. So. And Showfox says I was gonna say Breath of the Wild too. I agree actually, Nausicaa. The stylized world alone, that they kind of share, like the not hyper real.
It's
like,
a great fit.
I could see it. You could weave that in. You kind of saw that with how, you could play with different spells as Link.
Yeah.
You could easily work that in. I wish this was real. I wish this was a real brainstorming session for Kanyetsuko and DiMartino, man. Like it's one of those things that the world kind of deserves, and if it's pulled off right, it would induce the right feelings. Kind of like what I was going through with the Avengers game, and I totally agree, and that's why I kind of wanted to jam about it, talk about it, because if you put enough positive vibes out there, someone's gonna catch them. And
oh man, I hope. Please,
dude, in our lifetime, it has to happen, because, like you said, like the art, the feelings you were getting just describing the thought of gliding down different kingdoms. I would yell at Appa Yip Yip every time I'd get on a Sky Bison, man. I do it in real life. Appa Yip Yip. I would do it.
That would be insane.
Heck yeah. RD wants to conquer the world as the air nomads. Oh man. Everything would be vegan. Yeah. Everything would be vegan.
Oh man.
That's fantastic. All right. Nausicaa, this has been a fantastic and enlightening chat. I have had so much fun. Not just learning, but actually getting to know you a little more. This was long overdue. Miko P, I'm very happy you were able to join us as well. And I will hold this over Diego's head for a long time, that he was not able to partake in this session of bonding. But like all good things, this too must end, and we have to end on a good note. So it's been a very good note, and we want to thank all our most recent followers on that good note, like Riku, Mendio La Cubico, Leonie, 10 Speed, who else? Jinko Baloba, Ina HG, Number One Blake, Riff Screamer, Ungeek Colin, shout out to Ungeek Colin, Pedestrian and Jaman Chetta. I also want to give a shout out to all our subscribers. Vikopi, I'm not going to burden you with this. I'm going to burn through this. All our subscribers, like Cuban Panda 22 with 23 subs. That's almost 2 years worth. And he's also gifted 31. You are an amazing human being, Human Panda. Ferenci Shubimo, King of Umiko P. Nerf Diva, Sensei Huber, Notorious KGM, Instant DZ, Ion, Hammerstream, Wisa is Neo Gear, Shellfox, the Nensi, the Fury Bot, Numali, Zephy Buns, Russell Jello, Janathian, Mirage Leonardo 84, and CZ64, among all our other subscribers who've subscribed to us at least once. We love each and every one of you. Just like our bit cheers, Nerf Diva, No Plays, Neo Gear, Elder Jin, Mikael Roldan, Bimo King of Oris 27, Miko P again, if not now, Gwen, Mershi, Gameoko, underscore, InstaDZ, Pimpo Perp Drank, Tita Gamings, The Real VJ Data 21, Kebu TV, Wisa is Curry Server, and Aaron Gaming 441. And look at that, our design just followed us as well. Love you all, every single one of you, every last bit of you. Thank you guys so much for following, subscribing, cheering us on with some bits, and just enjoying what we do here on Quit Stalling, because we love you guys too. And I mean that. I really mean that. Thank you guys so much. Oh my word. What else do we normally do with this one? Oh yes, of course. If you want to find more of our stuff, find us on Facebook and Twitter at QuitStallingUs. We're on Instagram at QuitStalling. We're on YouTube as well, youtube.com/QuitStalling. Watch all our videos on demand. And of course, we go live here on twitch.tv/QuitStalling. Eno, Nausicaa, where can the folks at home find you when you're not on a show like GameByte?
Yeah, you guys can just I'm on Facebook basically. I literally just made the name for the Facebook page last week when you asked for one. So like, yeah, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter too. I think it's Nausicaa PH.
Yes.
And Twitch too, I think. Yeah, I do have one. So yeah, you guys can find me there. Mostly on Facebook is usually where I put mostly Valorant and probably Fall Guys stuff eventually when I actually can win a game. So yeah.
Woo! Awesome, man. We got to play a sesh this week. Miko P, where can the folks at home find you when you're not on GameByte?
Okay. I mostly live in the land of Facebook, so you will not find me in the Twitch TV.com/MikoP channel anymore that you see on screen. But rather, yeah, this one's the correct one. Facebook.com/MikoP. That's MEEKOPI. And when I'm not on Facebook, I am on Instagram managing my small potions shop called GG Potions. It's at GG Potions, and it's actually fruit and vegetable juice, but we just call them potions because they're cool.
I can't wait.
Harold, how about you? Where can people find you?
I can't wait to try and delight in GG Potions, Miko P. I'm looking forward to that. You guys can find me at Herald Plays on Instagram and on Twitter. Check out my stories. Sometimes I tell a tale, sometimes I don't. Check out my Twitter. Sometimes I say random things, and sometimes I reply to people. I retweet celebrities that I think I enjoyed you on Scrubs, and so much more. So check me out there. Aside from that, you can find me on the Quit Stalling Geekcast, where again, me, Sensei Humor, Juancho Saldana, we talk about all things geek and pop culture. Here on GameByte, I show up weekly, but next week we got a little surprise for you guys. Keep your eyes on the prize. We'll be here same byte time, same byte channel. Till then, I want to tell everyone, get off your butts and quit stalling. And Eno, thank you so much for coming on to the show. We loved you, man. It was great.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was such a blast.
Oh, man, you were a blast. We'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody. Bye.